Single dad lost a bet and had to live with an obese girl. What happened next changed everything. The rumor spread across town like a whisper carried by wind, but only he and she knew the truth. The bet was a joke that turned into fate, the kind that tests a person's heart before they even realize they're being tested. People laughed at him, called him reckless, said a responsible father shouldn't gamble his life like that, especially not when he already had so much to protect. He only smiled through the judgment, but inside, his world was breaking long before anyone knew her name. If you believe that kindness can save lives, that second chances exist even where pain has lived for years, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe for more stories like this, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. His name was Daniel, 37 years old. A man whose life was shaped by quiet wounds and sacrifices that didn't have witnesses. He worked 2 jobs, mornings at a delivery company, evenings cleaning offices after everyone in those fancy suits had gone home. His daughter, Lily, was 8 years old, with eyes that reminded him of her mother who passed away during childbirth. Daniel never complained, never asked the world for help, but every night when he tucked Lily into bed, he whispered apologies, because he feared she deserved more than what he could ever give. Still, Lily never knew the fear in her father's heart, only the softness in his smile. The bet happened on a bad night, when his friends convinced him to take a break and join a pool game at a local bar. They joked about him being too serious, too closed off from life. The challenge was simple: if he lost, he would open his house for 6 months to someone they knew, an overweight girl named Emma, a distant cousin of one of his friends who had nowhere to go. Most of them mocked her weight behind her back, saying she would be a burden, that he already had enough on his plate. Daniel didn't laugh. He knew what cruelty sounded like because he had heard it in hospital halls and behind closed doors. He played the game anyway, not expecting to lose. But he did. The next week, Emma arrived at his home carrying 2 suitcases, wearing clothes that barely fit and a fear that seemed bigger than her body. She was 22, silent, and avoided eye contact. Lily was the first to smile at her, tugging Daniel's sleeve while whispering loudly, "Daddy, she looks like she needs a friend." That night, when Emma sat at the dinner table, Daniel noticed she wasn't eating even though the food was untouched in front of her. He realized that the cruelty she faced outside had carved into her self-worth so deeply that hunger felt safer than judgment. Living together wasn't easy. Daniel knew nothing about supporting someone whose pain was invisible yet heavy. The first month felt like walking through storm clouds. Emma locked herself in the room for hours, crying quietly into pillows. She avoided mirrors, avoided people, avoided the world. Daniel tried to be patient. He cooked breakfast, waited longer before knocking on her door, told Lily to give Emma space. But children see beyond walls. One evening, Lily walked into Emma's room, hugged her, and said something that made Emma break down in tears: "You're pretty like Mom." It was the first time they heard Emma laugh, even if it sounded like a broken note from a forgotten song. Soon, things began to shift. Emma started joining them for meals. She helped Lily with homework, showing a gentle intelligence Daniel never expected. One day, Daniel overheard her singing softly in the kitchen while washing dishes, her voice fragile, but beautiful. He learned that Emma was once a music student who dreamed of performing, but years of bullying, isolation, and unhealthy coping stripped her confidence until she quit everything she loved. The world didn't only make fun of her body, it stole her voice. As weeks passed, Daniel noticed something unexpected: their home felt lighter, more human, as if Emma's presence dragged his buried emotions into the open. He started talking more, sharing memories of Lily's mother. He realized he wasn't just raising his daughter, he was hiding from his own grief. Emma listened, not with pity, but with recognition. Pain has a way of recognizing itself in someone else. Then came the moment that changed everything. One afternoon, Lily's school announced a charity talent show, inviting families to participate. Lily begged Emma to sing with her. Emma refused at first, tears forming before she could explain the fear lodged in her chest. But Lily, innocent and stubborn, insisted. Daniel didn't push, he simply said, "We'll stand with you if you stand for yourself." It was the closest he ever came to telling someone not to give up. On the night of the show, Emma stood backstage shaking, breathing fast, gripping Lily's hand like a lifeline. When the lights hit her face, she froze, but then Lily smiled, and Daniel nodded from the front row. Emma sang. The room fell silent, not because she was perfect, but because she was honest. Every note carried pain, survival, and the kind of courage that forms when someone has been broken many times yet still stands. Lily's soft voice beside her made the moment pure. When they finished, the audience rose. Some cried. Some clapped. And Emma collapsed into Daniel's arms backstage, sobbing not from fear anymore, but freedom. After the performance, everything changed. People saw Emma, not her weight. The same community that once mocked her now applauded her bravery. She began taking small walks every morning, not to lose weight quickly, but to rebuild her bond with her body. Daniel walked with her. They talked about dreams and wounds, about parenting and music, about what it means to be seen without judgment. Lily held their hands often, skipping between them like a bridge joining two islands. Months passed, and something unspoken grew between Daniel and Emma. It wasn't a dramatic love story driven by appearances, it was gentle, patient, built from shared scars and quiet understanding. Daniel saw Emma for who she truly was, a woman who learned to wear her pain like armor, yet never lost her tenderness. Emma saw Daniel not as a man who lost a bet, but as a father who never gave up on life even when life tried to break him. Their connection became the kind that doesn't need loud declarations, it lives in gestures, in the way someone shows up every day when they don't have to. The day the 6-month promise ended, Emma packed her bags, tears blurring her vision. She stood in the doorway, expecting Daniel to say goodbye. Instead, he simply said, "Stay if you want." Not because of a bet. Because we're family now. Emma cried into his chest while Lily wrapped her little arms around them both. That night, for the first time in years, Daniel didn't whisper apologies. He whispered thank you. The story didn't become perfect. Life is never perfect. Emma continued healing slowly, learning to love herself in a world that once punished her for existing. Daniel learned to let others in, to share the weight he carried alone. Lily grew up surrounded by love that looked different from fairy tales, but stronger than most stories ever told. Together, they rebuilt something priceless. Hope. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, comment your feelings, share it with someone who needs light, and subscribe so we can keep telling stories that remind people they matter. Comment below and tell us what part of the story stayed with you the most, and why it made you feel something real. Years later, people still talked about how a bet changed Daniel's life. How an obese girl transformed not into someone thinner, but into someone stronger, louder, brighter. But the truth lived inside their home, in the quiet mornings, shared meals, music echoing through rooms, and a little girl growing up learning that love isn't defined by weight, past mistakes, or how people judge you. It is defined by presence, honesty, and the courage to stay. Emma learned to sing again without trembling. Daniel learned to smile without sadness behind it. Lily, well, she learned that family is chosen sometimes by fate disguised as a joke. In the end, the bet that people laughed about became the foundation of a home built from compassion. And if anyone ever asked Daniel if he regretted losing that night, he only answered with a soft smile, looking at the woman who once hid behind closed doors and the daughter who believed in her first. Losing that game was the greatest win of my life.